What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts of the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, Mr. Tad the side. And Tad, Happy New Year! Because this is
Happy New
the
Year, buddy.
first episode that we are both doing together. I know you were able to fill in with some action with the episode that we had last week, covering the national title game for the college football season between Michigan and Washington. You did a great job with the roundtable there with lots of our friends from the LEFB Network. I had emergency situations, that's why I wasn't able to be there, but you did pretty good.
Don't you ever do that to me again. That was nerve-wracking. That was hard. I dropped a dead fish within the first 2 minutes, 30 seconds of the show.
That was the roughest one, yeah. But after that, you kind of were able to steady the ship and you were smooth sailing for the rest of the way. But yeah, after that, you hit a pothole or whatever it was. I don't know what happened.
That was not a pothole. That was a barricade. That was one of those concrete barricades in the middle of the road. I am not joking. People think this is a bit. Don't you ever make me do that again. And here's the worst part about hosting. You can't give your opinion. My respect for you grew tenfold after that because I was like, God, I wanted to say so much, but you had to spread it out. It was awful. I am back in my normal seat. I get to talk as much as I want. I like it here. Let me stay here.
Yeah. So, hopefully, knock on wood, there's not going to be any more situations like that, but, we'll see exactly how that goes. But like I said, I think you got your bearings after a little bit, and it wasn't as bad as you were sort of making yourself out to think that it was. And yeah, I think nerves got the best of you at the very beginning, but after that, I think you're fine. So if it were to come across again, you should be fine.
It's not going to come across again. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Stop it.
But yeah, I am definitely curious. I told you this after you were done as well. I'm very curious if you ever need to miss a day off. Can I do it on my own? Because I'm so used to relying on somebody else that's like, can I do it on my own? So I don't know. That'd be very interesting to see if that time were to ever come across how I would do in that situation. But no need to worry about that going forward. At least, we'll see exactly how it all plays out. But definitely in today's episode, we're both here. We're going to be covering a topic that I think you're very interested in, which is, I think, probably a very good reason as to why I'm taking the hosting job for today's episode specifically. Because, yeah, definitely you are going to get into a topic that you're very excited about. And that is, of course, the NFL draft of 2024. Draft. We're going to be talking about a mock draft for the top 10.
Let's go.
We definitely got finalized picks for the 1 through 18. So, yeah, we wanted to wait until we got that finalization to really sort of lay out possible early. I mean, this is very early situations with all these teams. I mean, we obviously have, Black Monday just came and gone. We're having a few more hirings and firings that are happening over the past week. So that could obviously affect a lot of things in the top 10. We obviously got, Caleb Williams, as of recording, has still not declared for the draft. So, I mean, we're not sure what's going on there.
I've got my eye on the breaking news ticker because I feel like, at any moment, this could be a Christian McCaffrey situation where we're like, oh, time to divert the show.
It's very true. Yeah, we have no idea. Most likely, I mean, still we're leaning in that boat that he's going to declare, but he has not said anything. So, I mean, we're not sure what's going on there. So he has until Monday, January 15th to actually declare. So we'll see what's going on there. But that will obviously affect the top 10. If he does, by some crazy happenstance, he goes back to school or whatever happens. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that may affect the top 10. So that's why this is very early, very preliminary with our top 10. That's why we're not doing a full first round either. Because it's like, let alone what's happening in the top 10. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of the draft as well in the first round alone. So should have some fun. We're going to give you some picks based on what we think could happen in the top 10 here. Who knows what's going to actually happen? But I think one thing you could definitely guarantee that you'll always have a fun time, because that's something you can always guarantee will happen, is playing on the Underdog Fantasy platform. I mean, they're just great partners that we've had for the past couple of months. I mean, just a very easy way to get into some fantasy football action, also getting into betting action as well. So, I mean, if you like sort of the stress-free of not having to worry about waivers and having to worry about trades and having to worry about starts and sits, that's what their best ball platform is for. You literally just draft a roster just like you would in a normal draft, but then after that, it's set it and forget it. So, I mean, they will take the best lineup for you each and every week. So you don't have to worry about like, oh my God, I left Puka Nacua on the bench and he absolutely went out for me. You don't have to worry about that. With the Underdog Fantasy platform with Best Ball, it will automatically take the best receivers, the best running backs, the best quarterbacks, all the positions, and give you the most optimal lineup each and every week. So you don't have to worry about that hassle. So if you like that stress-free fantasy type of playing, Underdog's got you covered there. But I think the bigger thing that me and Tad love about the fantasy platform is the betting aspect. You pick anywhere between 2 to 5 different prop bet picks across all sports. You can go NFL, you can go basketball, the NBA. I mean, MLB is about a month away from spring training. So, I mean, you get into MLB action, college basketball. You could have bet on the national title game for college football there. I mean, they got you a lot of sports that you just need to pick between 2 and 5 different prop bets. And depending on how many you pick, that's how much more of a multiplier on the money amount that you can gain. You do anything from higher and lower. You could do the rivals where you go head to head, one quarterback against the other, one running back against the other. There's a lot of different ways to get to the action, but it's a lot of fun, a very easy platform to use. Definitely use our promo code. There's a promo code to get you into the action. Just use our promo code DESAI, DESAI. And you can double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500 using that promo code. So, I mean, Tad, hypothetically, if you had $500 to put on this platform and you had not used
that is hypothetical. Then.
Exactly.
Okay,
that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you had not deposited on the Underdog Fantasy platform yet. You could put $500 and Underdog will match that dollar for dollar and give you an additional $500 on top of that. So you could bet with $1,000 on their platform to make bets for the whole year. I mean, if you want to splurge it on one bet, that'd be pretty crazy, but you can do it. But just that's the benefit of using our code DESAI, DESAI, to double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500. So, I mean, it's a fantastic code. It's a fantastic platform. So take advantage of it, people, especially with the NFL playoffs right around the corner here. As of recording, it's happening tomorrow. So, I mean, yeah, it's good. A great situation to sort of get into that. College basketball, lots of sports. They got you covered. So use our promo code to get in on the action at Underdog Fantasy.
And guys, I'm not even joking when I say this. I have an entire group chat with my friends dedicated to following each other's underdog bets. That is how much. Shout out to the UP, by the way. It's so much fun that we are all loving it. That we will show each other our bets. You can share your bets with your friends, by the way, and then. We send each other like truck emojis as in we're trailing you. We're trusting you here. And it's such a easy site to use. It's so much fun. I don't have $500 to put into their account, but guess what? Even with just $10, I've already placed a 5-pick parlay to win $375. Very risky, you may say, including, by the way, because this will not appear on our other episode, which you should check out, by the way, because we have a YouTube short episode where we give you the best bets to make using underdog odds. This bet will not make it, but a very risky one. Jason Sanders, 2 extra points.
Okay.
Or higher than 2 extra points and negative 20-degree weather. Risky, but I like it. But bottom line being is, if he doesn't make that, it's okay, because they give you the insurance option where if I go 4 out of 5, I still make money. I went in with 50. If Sanders doesn't hit it, but I hit on the other 4, I walk out with 77. I still won. I know no better site that lets you walk away where it's like, all right, you lost one, but we'll still, you can walk away with a little something. Never seen that before in my life. They're such an easy site to use. They're such an awesome site to use, and they're even better partners. So guys, please support us like you do with Underdog Fantasy. It is such a great partnership, and I am so excited to keep it going.
100%. It's a great partnership for sure. We love using that platform, both on the website and the mobile devices as well. They got great apps for sure. So, Tad, I know one other thing that makes you super excited. I already brought it up at the top of the episode, but that is definitely mock draft action.
Draft,
so, I mean, we're
draft,
going to
draft,
get into
draft.
it here with our top 10 for the 2024 NFL draft. So, I mean, we're not going to go super deep into any of these picks. Maybe more explain some of the situations that they're going to be landing in, some of these prospects as to why we put them there. But yeah, definitely we're early in the process. We still have the college football all-star games. I want to put it there. The draft bowl games. Obviously, we got the East-West Shrine game, the Senior Bowl, the HBCU Legacy Bowl. Obviously, we got the Combine still to happen, all the pro days. So I mean, there's still a lot of draft season yet to happen. We're here to give you all of the analysis and previews for everything that's going to happen. But yeah, this is very early in our draft process. We're still looking at a lot of tape, especially with all these guys, even at the top of the draft. Still got a lot of tape to dive into as far as how they separate from all the rest of the prospects at the positions, as well as amongst themselves as well. So, Tab, we got to start at the top here at the number 1 overall pick. The Chicago Bears were able to lock this up 2 weeks ago. I guess technically 3 weeks ago, but as of recording. So basically week 17, they were able to lock this up with after the games had all completed. Thanks to their trade last year with the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers finished dead last, but that pick goes to the Chicago Bears. So the Chicago Bears are going to be picking at number 1 this coming season. Possibly. We'll see. Maybe there's a trade. With this mock draft, we did no trades, but yeah, later in the year, once we actually do our full first round mock draft, there's definitely going to be some trades. I could see the Bears possibly trading this pick, but as of right now, we all stayed and picked here. So, Dad, I'll pass it to you here. What do you think the Chicago Bears here do at number 1 overall in the 2024 NFL draft?
With the first pick in the 2024 NFL draft, the Chicago Bears select Tory Taylor, the punter out of Iowa.
I'm so sick and tired of this joke. Like, seriously, you need to stop. I really
At least it wasn't a kicker this time. It was a punter.
It doesn't matter.
It was a well-deserving punter. That man deserved at least 1 Heisman vote. He was amazing. Did you see how often he punted it?
No. Where did he punt for?
He averaged at least 8 punts a game. That Iowa offense was just horrific.
Oh, he was an Iowa punter. Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. No. So Tory Taylor, keep an eye out for him. Best punter in the league. Tory Taylor, what's your analysis? No. Okay. All right. Fine. I've been having this debate behind the scenes for what feels already like 4 months now. Now it's finally made its way to the show. So I'm already kind of sick of it, but you know what? For the show's sake, let's do it. It is time for the showdown of the spring. Who will be the ultimate winner? To be honest, I don't know. I know who I think it should be. It's Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver out of Ohio State. I think if the Chicago Bears hold on to this pick, it should absolutely be him. I am all in on Justin Fields here. And I will say, I was like most Bear fans headed into the later half of the season with Justin Fields returning from that injury that kept him out a couple of weeks. Like, all right, dude, you're out with the injuries. Let's see. Can you prove it? And by God, he proved it. The Bears were competitive in most of their games in that second half of the season. He looked, and here's the key part, he looked more polished as a runner, which was to be expected. But as a passer, he looked better too. He's showing steady progression as a quarterback. And I understand the arguments for the other guy who we will, in all likelihood, discuss next. But the deal is, I understand, oh no, you reset it. You go with, the rookie contract where you have an extra couple years. I don't care. Because in a weird way, Justin Fields being inconsistent is almost playing in your favor, where you can land a franchise quarterback cheaper than we had this discussion on Chauncey Talisa's podcast a couple weeks. Was it last week? All my days are blending together.
Yeah. Sort of
last week, yeah. Where I was like, is Trevor Lawrence about to get Joe Burrow money? And they were like, yeah. I was like, oh, dear God. And I don't think Justin Fields is going to get that money. I think you can actually get what ridiculously is called a $150 million affordable contract. So I think it would be smart to hold on Justin Fields and build around him because he clearly has enough to keep that offense going with minimal talent. Surround him with the best, unquestionably, the best player in this year's draft, and he will continue to improve. I am all in on this Marvin Harrison Jr. business. Get out of here with that QB.
I think it makes the most sense, especially if they stick with Justin Fields. This absolutely is the pick. If they stay at number 1 and they stay with Justin Fields, like Marvin Harrison Jr., like you said, arguably the best player in this draft class, let alone the best receiver in this draft class. So, I mean, just you pair him up with Justin Fields, you pair him on the opposite side with DJ Moore. Like, I mean, that's obviously now we have building blocks of an offense. You drafted Roshan Johnson last year. You have that committee approach with Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman. Maybe you could upgrade the offensive line with some of that second and third round pick. You also have a pick later in the draft because because you have your own pick at number 9 overall. So I mean, yeah, maybe that's where you go offensive lineman as well. So I mean, yeah, you could definitely make a very good upgrade to that offensive line as well as your offensive skill positions, taking Marvin Harrison Jr. But that's if they stick with Justin Fields. In my scenario, which a lot of people are predicting, and I kind of had to play this pick because it sort of makes the most sense to me. It's Caleb Williams. I think they take Caleb Williams and they make the switch going with the guy from USC, the Heisman winner from 2022, and I mean just the electric type of player. The only thing that sort of worries me is just like, is he too similar to Justin Fields? Because with Justin Fields, it's like he's got that smaller frame, he's got the running ability. Caleb Williams has a very similar running ability, the smaller frame. Can he stand up all these big hits that he's going to suffer? We talked about this on the Salute to Troy podcast with our good friend Al Rowe about just like, can he take that sort of beating with the small frame that he has? Like, can he be that same, prolific playmaker that he was at USC, but now at the NFL level with all these bigger, faster, stronger dudes? I don't know if he can be, but I think in this case, they just want a fresh start. They want to give Justin Fields a fresh start as well. There's going to be some new, offensive coaching staff. I know the head coach, Matt Eberflus, was able to keep his job, but everybody else was fired on that offensive coaching staff. So we'll see what the offensive coordinator who does come in, whether he's like, nope, I want to go with the fresh quarterback, my pick, or like my say in this decision. I think they go in that direction. You also have to look, Tad, like as much as I like Justin Fields, it is improvement this season. He played in 40 games for Chicago in his career. He only had 8 games with multiple passing touchdowns. In those same 40 games, he also had only 6 games with over 250 passing yards. In a league where we're trying to move towards being a more pass-friendly option, that's not the numbers that you want to see. I mean, we kept hearing these stats about like how Patrick Mahomes had more passing yards than the entire Bears, like in franchise history, had the most passing yards like by like week 11 or something like that. Like, we always see these ridiculous stats about just how terrible quarterback play has been for the Chicago Bears because they just don't pass the ball that option. And maybe they don't need to. They play good defense. They also run the ball. But I mean, I think in this case, you go with Williams, you go with the playmaker. They may entertain the idea of going with the quarterback out of North Carolina, Drake Maye, but I think we have to wait to see how this draft process plays out. I think they go with Caleb Williams, the overall number 1 quarterback in this year's draft class. Let's hear it. Because I mean,
no,
like
I'm gonna save the rant for later. I'm gonna save the rant for later because first off, we don't even know if he's gonna be in this year's draft. We don't know what the hell. This
like we said, we as of right now,
I'm reserving anger until it's official. I'm reserving the energy. I'm like Godzilla, like laying deep in the earth until I like need to like pop out and be like Caleb Williams. But anyway, point being, I don't know why I guess Godzilla kind of has T-Rex arms. But anyway, point being. That was great for our YouTube audience. Please, someone screenshot that. That's meme material right there. But look, all right. So I guess let's start the debate with this. Is I don't hate Caleb Williams. I'm not calling him bust. I said this on Salute to Troy podcast where he's become such a polarizing prospect that it feels like you're being forced in one of two camps. Either one, he's the next GOAT, or two, he's the next big time bust. I'm in between. I think he's good. I think he's showing a lot of promise, but I think he's being overhyped, and there's a lot to improve on his game. That sounds a lot like my analysis for Justin Fields a couple years ago. So here's why I'm frustrated is because I think that if they draft Caleb Williams, I understand the thought process behind it. I really do. Of like, Eberflus wants his guy. He was not the regime that drafted Fields. He inherited him. So now he wants the guy. Okay, I do understand that, but at the same time, I feel like you're just resetting the clock to be right back where we were in 2 years in the future, where it's just like, wow, Caleb Williams has looked good, but has had some struggles. Is he the answer? Now the Bears are in the top 10, and there is this good quarterback out there. Could they go after? I feel like we're going to be talking about this in 2026 if they draft Caleb Williams. because it's just like, do you go for the reset quarterback at one position, or with all the assets that this team has done a very admittedly good job of collecting, do you just go with the guy you have now? And then, because let's not forget, especially with all the assets you have, not this year, but next year, I think that you have a solid shot at getting a good quarterback next year. If not in the draft, in free agency. Who knows? I mean, every year the quarterback market shifts colossally. So it's one of those things that's just, I understand the Caleb Williams argument. I just think it is a way bigger risk than just taking a great receiver. Then, like you said, we'll get into this, taking whoever is there at 9. I don't quite understand the hard reset button. It feels like a forced reset here where you don't need it. So I don't know. It's just like, if let me put it this way. If the Bears never had the Panthers pick, they would be out of this conversation entirely. The only reason they're in this conversation of like, oh, are they in the Caleb Williams? They're not like Pittsburgh or New England or somebody who's like slightly out where it's like, oh, they might want to try to trade back in. Chicago wouldn't even be in that conversation. So it's just, I understand the Caleb Williams argument, but I just think it is an unforced error that, you know what, they have a 50-50 shot at making. I do think they'll trade out, but I'll get into that in my next pick.
Yeah, I think most likelihood is that they trade this pick and they acquire some more assets. But yeah, if they stay here, I feel like they just hit that reset button. And I understand everything that you laid out, but I feel like with that new regime there that's going to be coaching the coaching staff, they're like, let's get our guy that we want who could tailor to our, we could tailor the offense to him. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Right. So we'll see how it all plays out for sure. But let's get to number 2. The Washington Commanders are now on the clock here, and they could possibly need a quarterback here. So is that the direction that you go with the Washington coaching staff? Because they're going to be hiring a new head coach as well. Ron Rivera was fired. So that's going to be very interesting to see which direction they go, whether they go offensive and get a quarterback or if they go in different directions. What do you think?
So I kind of cheated on this one where here's my ultimate prediction. I'm going to give a trade without really giving a trade. I think we will see a 1 and 2 swap. I think that's the trade that's going to happen.
Okay, got it.
I think Washington's going to jump up to number 1. Chicago's going to trade up to number 2. It works out. That's the best trade for both franchises, right? Chicago lands the guy that I want them to take in Marvin Harrison in number 2. And with the second overall selection, the Washington Commanders select the hometown boy, Caleb Williams. I think this is where Caleb Williams ends up. And I think this is a very good spot to end up, especially if the guy who I think should be head coach, who I'm not going to lie, I haven't really been keeping up with that. The head coaching news has been, you said Black Monday. It's really been like Black Monday. Tuesday, they took off. Then it was Black Wednesday. Thursday, they took off. Then it was Black Friday. I'm like,
the entire week, yeah.
So
crossing over to the college level with Nick Saban retiring. Like, I mean, yeah, it's been crazy.
I mean, speaking of Godzilla, I feel like Godzilla just like nuked the city. I'm like, let's just wait for the dust to settle before we see what happened. So I've not been reading any reports, but if Washington's new ownership was smart, they would hire Eric Bieniemy as their next head coach. That would be an A++ hire. By the way, Drake Maye, and we'll get into that. I'd say like a B- C+ hire. I thought that was curious, but anyway, that's for another episode. Let's assume Bieniemy is hired. Could you imagine Eric Bieniemy with Caleb Williams? Now then I become a big time Caleb Williams, because he being Eric Bieniemy made Sam Howell look like a very good quarterback at times there. I'm not saying overall for obvious reasons. And look, I said Sam Howell, I said that was his ceiling. I was like, I think he's his ceiling's a solid NFL starter. His floor is a good NFL backup. I think we've seen his floor. He's going to be a backup in this league for a while, because that guy can clearly win you some games. He's going to lose you some too. But if you can make Sam Howell look good, you can make Caleb Williams, who's basically a juiced up version of Sam Howell, about 10 times that, look even better. And I've seen a couple of rumors that like maybe Terry McLaurin's on the move, and maybe like they hit the hard reset where they just blow up this roster entirely. I think that would be a mistake. This roster's pretty good with Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson Jr., Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin. There's a lot to work with here. All you really need is a capable quarterback. And all of a sudden, I'm not saying you're in the running for the division. That division is wild. But I think all of a sudden this could be the team, kind of like the Texans were this year, where it's all of a sudden like, oh my God, where did they come from? I really do believe that. And keep in mind, they tried to tank That shows how good they are. They tried to tank 8 weeks ago, and it didn't work. And I know people are like, well, they're picking at 2. They still were competitive in almost all their games. So I think that's why Washington trades up, because this really does feel like the one piece that projects them forward into like, oh, now we're only a couple years away.
No, that's fair. I think quarterback is probably a smart decision to go to, especially like I said, with them hiring a new head coach. He wants to pick his guy, whether it's Sam Howell, whether that's Jacoby Brissett. I don't think that's going to be the answer. So I can see them going in that direction of either Caleb Williams or Drake Maye if he's available, if Caleb Williams goes number 1 overall. But I'm going to go in a different direction.
Okay.
I think they may punt on the quarterback position at least
Taylor?
for the first round.
Do they take Corey Taylor here?
No, they're not going to take a punter.
You said punt.
Yeah, so they're going to punt the pick as far as taking a quarterback. But I think they're going to go and shore up the offensive line because, Tad, they had the 6th fewest rushing yards in the NFL last season. They are also had the most sacks in the NFL. Sam Howell was running for his life a lot of the time. Jacoby Brissett was also doing that. So I think they need to upgrade the offensive line before they even consider taking their franchise quarterback because they don't want this guy running for his life every single season. I think they may push that quarterback decision maybe to the top of the 2nd round where maybe a Jayden Daniels or Michael Penix Jr. could be available if they want to go quarterback this year, or maybe they just wait it out and they go next year and they get a guy like Quinn Ewers out of Texas possibly. I mean, we'll see about that as far as going next year.
Don't do that.
But that's a conversation for later. But I think, like I said, they shore up the offensive line. They go with, arguably maybe the best offensive lineman in this draft class, and that's Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. So I think they get a guy to protect the blind side there. They shore up that offensive line. Like I said, he's good in the running game. He's also good in the passing game. He's going to be a starter, plug-and-play guy from day one. And I think he's going to bring consistency and just a NFL-ready sort of skill set to the offensive line there in Washington. So I think they go in that direction as opposed to going with the quarterback position, at least in this mock draft that I have here. Very, very preliminary.
I hate you. So for our listeners and viewers, truly, and if that was a legitimate reaction, we did not share our picks with each other. We have no idea what's coming. I will reserve judgment for that pick. It's coming up, but you will see in a bit. So moving on to number 3. Amir, let's kick it to you first. Number 3, the New England Patriots. Who are they taking?
So, yeah, the New England Patriots, just like Tad sort of brought up a little earlier, they have moved on from Bill Belichick. They have mutually parted ways, and they have hired Jerod Mayo to be their new head coach.
So weird.
Exactly. It's a little weird. But I think regardless of whether they stuck with Bill Belichick, whether they hired Jerod Mayo, whether they hired somebody else, oh, my God, their quarterback play was terrible.
So bad.
The past couple of
Bailey
seasons.
Zappi didn't look bad. Bailey Zappi's a good backup.
He was not bad, but
he looked better
nowhere
than
can
Mac
he be consistent. Yes, he did look better than Mac Jones, but even that's a very low bar.
Yeah, that's like
he was nowhere near
hopping over a pebble and be like, "Yay!"
Exactly. There's nowhere near the consistency that we saw that he could be a future franchise leader for the New England Patriots. So I think they go quarterback here. Already in my mock draft, I got Caleb Williams going number 1 overall. So I think here New England ranks 6th, 18th, 7th, and 3rd in fewest passing yards since 2020. In 2020, it was the very first year that there was no Tom Brady in New England. So clearly, they've had issues at the quarterback position. So I think they go quarterback here. They get Drake Maye, the quarterback out of North Carolina. Maye will bring more stability to the offense. He's got the athletic ability. He can make the throws on the run. He's got some scrambling ability too. He is a little bit more raw in some aspects, but I think that's what the draft process will allow him to sort of clean up, work on that decision making, show his arm talent, show his scrambling ability. He'll be able to showcase all of that at his pro day as well as the combine. Most likely he'll get a combine invite. I really doubt that he wouldn't get a combine invite.
Maye is getting a combine invite.
I know, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. But just
will he throw at the combine? That's a more interesting combo.
That is definitely a question to sort of answer there, whether that will happen. But for sure, I think Maye is an upgrade over both quarterbacks that they have on the roster that they started last year and 2 years ago. So I think that's the direction that they go. And the Patriots actually luck into another quarterback instead of Washington taking 1 at 2. They get possibly the second best quarterback in this year's draft class in Drake Maye.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, as longtime listeners and viewers of our podcast know, I've long sung the praises of Drake Maye. I've at one point said I like him better than Caleb Williams, and at that time, I will stand by that pick. And I think there's lots to like with Drake Maye. I think he is a very talented prospect. If he goes to the right situation, he has all the tools to succeed in the NFL, and that is why with the 3rd overall selection, I had the New England Patriots selecting Jayden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU.
Daniels. Wow. So you're buying the hype with the Heisman win from last season and just the spectacular season that he had. So I'm a little bit more cautious with him, but I'll let you give the analysis here.
I could not believe it. I went into watching his tape, and granted, I haven't watched enough of his tape yet to make my final decision. So keep in mind, guys, it is January. We've got a lot of time to go. So before you're like, well, what happened to Jayden Daniels' love? It may change. But from the couple of games, I have watched a couple of his full games. I went in expecting not to like him. So I went in with a negative lens. He blew me away. I really, really like Jayden Daniels now. And honestly, for now, he has overtaken Drake Maye as my number 2 quarterback in this year's class. Because not only is his touch on the deep pass, just chef's kiss beautiful, he shows really good poise, really good arm strength. But the thing that I really, really like about him is that when he goes runner mode, and that was the thing, I was afraid of him because I didn't watch LSU all that much this season. They were terrible. But that's the fact. Is the more I watch this tape, I'm like, I didn't realize just how bad this LSU team was. They were bad, man. And he elevated, he deserved that Heisman. And I was against him winning the Heisman. I'm forgetting who I said it should have been, but I was actually like, come on, dude. I think it was, I said it was Penix. I was like, Penix should have
been Penix. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
And now, no, I see why Jayden Daniels won it, because without him, this team would have been 10 times as bad. I don't even think they would have won 4 games. Definitely. So he's a smart runner, meaning he knows when to go down. He doesn't try to make too much happen. He has all the tools there that I think, depending on who New England hires as their offensive coordinator, he really, really could succeed there. So Jayden Daniels right now is my number 2 quarterback in this year's draft.
It's a rumor that they may hire Josh McDaniels again to be their offensive coordinator, so that'll be very interesting.
Hey, as OC, I don't mind him. As OC, I don't mind him.
As OC was not so bad. As an OC, it was not so bad. All right, Tad, let's get to number 4 here with the Arizona Cardinals. They are now officially on the clock. So who do you think they draft at that number 4 overall pick?
This is why I hate you. You stole my hot take. I made this pick being like, oh, this is going to shock him. This is going to be a good little segment. The Arizona Cardinals take Joe Alt, offensive tackle at Notre Dame. I was so excited for that hot take, and then you just stole my thunder by putting him at number 2. Yeah. You're the worst.
I'm sorry.
But I will say this. So another player who I'm sure we'll both name later is widely regarded as the better offensive lineman, but it's all about the fit at offensive line, right? Sure. And so the thing that surprised me about Joe Alt, not surprised me because I didn't expect it. I haven't watched that much. Look, it's very hard to evaluate offensive linemen while you're watching college football on TV, because they don't really focus on them much. Offensive linemen are the type of players I start evaluating the most in the offseason, because then you get all that particular angles. And the one thing that stuck out to me the most is when the play starts moving downfield, there's the receiver, there's the tight end, and then right behind both of them is Joe Alt. That dude is a crazy good athlete, pushing, continuing blocking down the field without getting the penalty. And I think that is the type of tackle that fits better in Arizona's defense. I think that's the reason they took Paris Johnson Jr. last year over what some would argue are better tackles. So I think that in terms of, is he the best tackle in this year's draft? No. Is he the better fit for Arizona? Yes. So I think that is why he is the first tackle off the board at number 4.
I like it. They could use some improvements on that offensive line for sure. Give some more protection for Kyler Murray, who they're committing to, it seems like, at least for the temporary sort of situation.
I'll give it to him. He earned it.
He looked a lot better. As soon as he was shaking off the rust of his first handful of games, he started to look a lot better to close out the season. Looked really good against Philadelphia in that comeback win and upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's going to be very good to see for Cardinals fans that Kyler Murray sort of is getting that game back, and I think they're committing to him. That's what head coach Jonathan Gannon has said, and I think they commit to him so much that they go here and they give him a playmaker that they sort of get lucked into, because the other 3 picks have sort of been taken with Joe Alt, Caleb Williams, and Drake Maye. They sort of luck into Marvin Harrison Jr. here. I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. He's the best prospect in this draft class, arguably easily the best wide receiver in this draft class. So he's just automatically going to give Arizona a playmaker on the outside. You have to remember Marquise Brown is a free agent, so we don't know whether he's going to come back. They obviously already let go to DeAndre Hopkins. He did not come back to the roster. So outside of them, don't really have a lot of options. I know Trey McBride came on at the end of the season, so he's going to be a good option going into next year and the future years. But outside of Trey McBride, it's who else are you throwing the ball to? So yeah, definitely you luck into Marvin Harrison Jr. That's a home run, slam dunk, run that pick up to the board type of guy there, going at number 4 to the Arizona Cardinals. Let's move on to number 5, Ted. This is where it's going to get interesting
This is
because
hard.
this is
This one was
LAFC
hard.
Network's own Los Angeles Chargers are on the board here at number 5. They're going with the new head coach as well. So I was very curious to see whether that's going to affect any sort of decisions here. So what do you think they do at number 5?
So I see receiver mocked here a lot, which is, I will say it was hard. I never once considered a receiver here. Never once. It feels too knee-jerkish to me. Mike Williams, I think, this sounds kind of weird, but luckily got hurt early enough where I think that shouldn't impact next season all too often, where they kind of need to seriously consider, like, we might be without Mike. Like, okay, maybe you play like week 1 or week 2 without him, like worst case scenario, but I think he'll be fine. Keenan Allen, yes, he is getting old. But again, it's just like, why address a position that is not your most immediate need?
Sure.
But I also still understand the need to, okay, we still need to beef up that passing offense because once Keenan Allen and Mike Williams went down, that offense did start falling apart. So let's just do the 2 birds, 1 stone situation. Draft Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia. That way you hit tight ends, which has been a position of relative weakness over the last couple of years. Nothing against Gerald Everett, but he just quite hasn't met expectations. But at the same time, he's so athletic in the way he plays. He's basically a receiver anyways. So you hit, on 2 positions at the same time. Honestly, I see Brock Bowers being a better Dalton Kincaid, and we all saw how well that experiment worked out. So I think that's the best case scenario for the Chargers.
I love it because that's exactly who I have at number 5.
There we go.
Like,
see?
We're
great minds think alike, buddy.
Exactly. We're paying lip service to Chargers fans because a lot of people are sort of thinking that the Chargers should go with the tight end position. But like you said, it's not really even a tight end. He's a glorified receiver, and his size and speed is just so dangerous as a receiving threat. If he wants to be that sort of all-around tight end, like a George Kittle, like a Dallas Goedert, he definitely will need to bulk up, and that'll happen over the draft process season. But maybe they don't need him to do that because they need that playmaker at that tight end position. Exactly. Keep that speed. Exactly. Where sort of you can use him as that Dalton Kincaid type of player in the Chargers offense now, whether that's going to be led by Kellen Moore or somebody else, but it's just like they definitely will go in that direction of maybe offensively and get a guy who just upgrades that offense, gives Justin Herbert another weapon of the offense to really get the most out of him because you paid the guy. Fortunately, he was dealing with a lot of injuries at the receiver position this year, with Keenan Allen getting hurt late in the season. Obviously, Mike Williams getting hurt. We had injuries to Josh Palmer as well. So they're going like rookies, Darius Davis, Quentin Johnston, some of those guys. And just like it was looking good at times, but also looking very bad at times as well. So yeah, you get a guy like Brock Bowers. I think that automatically upgrades the offense, gives them a playmaker at the tight end position since 2008 when they had Antonio Gates on the roster. That's the last time.
About to be a Hall of Famer, by the way. About to be a Hall of Famer. Last thing I will say,
he last played in 2019. Yeah, because he did come back later. He was with the team in 2019. So that's a Hall of Fame hopeful in Antonio Gates. So yeah, they could definitely use a playmaker at the tight end position. I think they go Brock Bowers as well.
Last thing I will say about Brock Bowers. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional because my greatest fear has been quashed. Brock, you are safe, my friend. Arthur Smith, he can't get you. He can't get you. He's gone. He's gone.
Unless the Chargers hire him as OC, because that's a possibility.
Shut your mouth.
Just putting it out there. The possibility.
I will put a knife in my leg. You stop putting that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
You know what's actually so funny? A good friend of ours, Stephen Haglund, used to be with LAFB Network. He actually tweeted out, he's like, some of his dream and coaching scenarios was like Mike Vrabel at head coach, Arthur Smith at OC. So
no,
I don't know.
That's terrible. That's straight up Charles Barkley terrible. Get Arthur Smith the hell out of this league. There are only 2 words that can describe the only reason that Arthur Smith is somewhat a respectable person in the NFL, and it's Derrick Henry. That is the only reason that man. He just happened to be the OC at Derrick Henry's. But God, I hate him.
Very true. Very true. All right. So that is the top 5, 10. Let's move into the bottom 5 of the top 10. And let's get to number 6 here with the New York Giants. They're on the clock here. What do you think they do?
So once again, I never consider a certain position as being very popularly mocked here. I don't think they're going to take a quarterback here. I think they are too financially tied to Daniel Jones. I think it's just a pipe dream for Giants fans to be like, can we please get rid of him? And it's like, hey, this is why you should have franchise tagged him. Sorry, your team's management is terrible. We were all telling you last offseason that was a terrible contract, and it still is a terrible contract. So unfortunately, You got another season Daniel Jones on your way. But you know what? If that's the case, then do the most you can for him to make him succeed because he has shown potential. So I think what they should do, and thank God this man has shortened his first name because God knows I'm not going for the full pronunciation. He is, in my opinion, by far the best tackle in this year's draft, and that is Olu Fashanu, the tackle at Penn State. This is the guy that I wanted the Colts to suck for. Unfortunately, we were too good. We're not going to get him. He is so good. This man is a brick wall. He is just like, they're very, and this happens every year in the draft. Is sometimes I'll watch like 2 or 3 games of a player, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to really watch him. I will watch a few more of his games, but I don't really need to spend much more time on him because I'm convinced this man's the next Trent Williams. He's the next like absolute brawler, absolute mauler, whatever rhymes you want to come up with at the offensive line. Now, you may be going, well, Ted, if you're so high on him, why didn't the Cardinals take him number 4? This is what I was talking about. Is he's not very good at going downfield. His speed's not so great. He's the guy that's going to quite literally anchor that offensive line, while Joe Alt, like I said, can push that field upfield. So it's all about that offense. I know people are going to go, well, Daniel Jones is a rushing quarterback, and Saquon Barkley, if he comes back, they push down the field, sure. But at this point, Fashanu's still there. I think they take it now. What happens to Evan Neal, who, by the way, has been, I won't say struggling massively, but definitely not meeting expectations so far. What is the main thing we all said about Evan Neal going into the draft when he was a prospect? It was, he's a great athlete, can that match at tackle at the next level? So far, that answer is no. So for now, he's not going to be a long-time tackle unless we see a massive improvement, which is unlikely. Let's kick him into tackle. So we got Andrew Thomas, Fashanu, and Evan Neal all in the same offensive line. All of a sudden, that's looking like a pretty promising offensive line to me.
I like it. They've had issues on their offensive line for sure. They surrendered the most sacks.
They asked Justin Pugh off the couch.
Yeah, that's how desperate they were. Like you said, I think the aspect of taking a Jayden Daniels or Michael Penix Jr. now, it could be in play there, but I think they stick with Daniel Jones. They upgrade the offensive line. I also like them taking Olamide Fashanu going there with the number.
You show off. You're a dick.
I have to get into practice here, especially as we get further into the draft season. This is still very early here.
I'm gonna try. Olamide.
Yeah, I like.
Oh shit! Okay. Carry on.
But yeah, I think he could be in play to be that first offensive lineman off the board as well, ahead of Joe Alt. But I think it really just depends on how the board plays out and the fit. That's the biggest thing there, because I mean, we've talked about this before last season with it was Devin Witherspoon, and then who was the other defensive back that we were debating between? And I was like, I think Devin Witherspoon goes ahead of him.
Christian Gonzalez.
Christian Gonzalez, that's what it was. And so you were like, I like Christian Gonzalez more. I was like, I think I like Devin Witherspoon a little bit more. They both have the skill set, but I think Devin Witherspoon with his aggressiveness will go higher. And that's exactly what happened. I think this is the very same thing where it's the fit.
Yeah, I agree.
Play into the conversation for sure. So yeah, this could be a situation where Olu goes higher, or he could be going a little bit lower depending on the fit for the teams there. But yeah, I like that there.
Here's the crazy thing about both those corners. They're both amazing.
They're both very, very good for sure. All right, Tal, let's get to the AFC South rivals here for your Indianapolis Colts. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock here at number 7. What do you think they do?
So this was tough because we were talking about this during our CFB National Championship preview show where I said, I don't think this guy's the number 2 receiver, even though he's being hyped up as it. I think this mock was a weird mix of what I think will happen and should happen. I think he will go above my number 2 receiver just because he looks better, in terms of play. But I'm not honestly that big of a fan of him. Maybe I'll change my tone as the draft season goes on. But I think the Tennessee Titans are going to take Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver out of LSU. DeAndre Hopkins did very well. All credit to DeAndre Hopkins, but outside of that, they don't really have any really promising receiving threats there. So it's just what receiver do they like most? I think the fact that Malik Neighbors is just a very tall, very fast. I will not take anything. That dude's a speedster. I was shocked when I watched him. Like, holy shit, you are faster than I thought, especially for his size. So am I a big believer in Neighbors to be like a true number 1 receiver? As of right now, no, that may change. But I do think that him to number 7 with the Tennessee Titans is a very real possibility.
It's a very real possibility because I have him also going at
There
number
you go.
7.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think just you look at the skill set that he brings. Obviously, you just sort of laid out with the Titans sort of lacking playmakers in the passing offense, where it's like, we still don't know what we have with Treylon Burks. I know they invested a first-round pick on him 2 years ago, but he was injured a lot of last season. But even when he was healthy, he wasn't looking all that great as the opposite option for DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, they have an out for him. If they decide they want to cut him this offseason, it's only going to cost them $6.5 million. So maybe they decide to do that as he's an aging receiver. But just I think they may go with the receiver option to really give Will Levis another option, that passing attack. They definitely could utilize him. Chiggs Okonkwo at the tight end position has not been looking all that great as well. Consistent is the really key factor there. So yeah, Malik Neighbors, I like him a little bit more than some of the other receivers, but yeah, we have to wait to see how this whole draft process plays out. Maybe there's something that can affect them as far as playing better or playing worse during the Senior Bowl, the Combine, Pro Days, all of that. But as of right now, I like Malik Neighbors at number 7. All right, Ted, let's get to number 8 here. The Atlanta Falcons are now on the clock. What do you think they do to upgrade their team?
I mean, it's a guy that, I used to say was the best quarterback in this year's class. So I think this is a good gift for him. I think the Atlanta Falcons take Drake Maye. Desmond Ritter's not the option.
Okay.
Taylor Heineke's obviously not the option. Drake Maye takes a slight tumble, not too badly. But I think that the firing of Arthur Smith clearly showed that they were not happy, or they were not happy with the complacency. And that's what surprised me, is I thought they were going to give another year. But I think that with the firing of Arthur Smith, that shows we are ready to start rebuilding this franchise. And, possibly the second best or best quarterback in this class. It's really one, in my mind right now, it's 1A, 1B, 1C. So 1C falls right in their lap here. Drake Maye, a little raw, but, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, at least for a little while, Bijan Robinson, this is a pretty good situation for Maye to land in.
I like it. I like that pick for sure. But I have another situation that's going to happen with the Atlanta Falcons. But I have the pick here with them going with the edge rusher, Laiatu Latu out of UCLA.
Whoa!
They have a good secondary with AJ Terrell. They signed Richie Grant, or they drafted Richie Grant, excuse me. They signed Jesse Bates. That's what I was thinking there. They were tied for the 11th fewest sacks in the NFL generated on defense. I think they possibly could go quarterback, so they possibly could get a Jayden Daniels, maybe a Michael Penix Jr. Who knows what's going to happen? Bo Nix could possibly be in the conversation. We'll see how it all plays out here. But my prediction is, with them Chicago Bears taking Caleb Williams number 1 overall, I think Justin Fields lands with the Atlanta Falcons and really shows up.
Okay.
So Justin Fields, exactly with all the playmakers that you laid out, with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, they finally get utilized with a quarterback like Justin Fields and the running ability. They get a guy who could sort of utilize all that, and the coaching staff to utilize that entire offense. But they shore up the defense as well, get a good pass rusher, Laiatu Latu. Maybe he's not the first one, but as far as the skill set, he was the one who rose the most during this past season. I like him to continue that growth in the draft process as well, and I think he'll solidify himself as the best pass rusher in this draft class. So I got him here going at number 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. You're a little shocked by that one, so quick analysis.
I was. Well, this leads perfectly into my next pick, because I don't even see him as the best edge rusher in this year's draft.
Interesting.
That's why I was so shocked. So not only did they pass up on quarterback, although your Justin Fields thing did make sense, I think he's the second best. Now, he's good. Do not get me wrong. He is a good pass rusher. I could definitely see him testing well at the Combine, at the Pro Day, and shooting up draft boards, being in the top. And you know who's killing him is, I haven't learned how to pronounce his name yet, but that defensive lineman out of Illinois is so mad at him right now.
Because Jazon Newton. Yep.
Yeah, he was the one rising up quick, and now this UCLA guy is the one that kind of taking his spot. He's like, shit.
Very true. Very true.
Also, the Falcons taking like a the quote unquote small school defensive lineman, that would be very Falcons-esque. So that
very
fits.
true. Very true. So we're talking about the next pick here. That's the number 9 overall pick, and we are sort of brought this up earlier, but the Chicago Bears are back on the clock with their original pick, actually here at number 9. So what do you think they do here?
I think they're hoping Alt or Fashanu falls. That would be the dream draft. They get either Williams, Harrison Jr. in the top 3, and then they get one of those tackles in the at number 9. That is just like, that's the dream draft right there. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen, so they go with next best thing. I was tempted to go offensive lineman here, like maybe the next best one, but unfortunately, none of them really justify it. So I think they just go, let's keep beefing up that pass rush, and they go with the true best pass rusher in this year's draft, which is Dallas Turner, the edge rusher out of Alabama. Montez Sweat absolutely killed it for him. That was a fantastic trade. So let's keep, stocking that up. Let's keep beefing up that pass rush. And especially because the Lions look like they're not putting their foot off the gas pedal. So you got to just keep going after that offense. So I think Dallas Turner might be a fun fit in Chicago.
I like it. They could definitely use some more options on that defensive front to get after the quarterback. Montez Sweat, like you said, was a great addition, but you can always add more when it comes to pass rushing for sure. So I had Caleb Williams going number 1 overall. I think at number 9, they give him a very good receiving weapon here in Rome Odunze, the wide receiver out of Washington. Like you talked about, if there's a very high-level offensive lineman like a Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu, then I think that's 100% going to be the pick. But I think in this case, like I said, I think that next level offensive lineman maybe a little bit too high at number 9. This could be a possibility where they trade back from number 9 to possibly take an offensive lineman at like maybe 12 or 13. That could be a possibility, but I think if they stay here at number 9, I think they pair up Caleb Williams with a very high level receiver, Rome Odunze. I think, like you said, with Marvin Harrison Jr., give him a very good option for Justin Fields in your case, but for me, pairing him up with Caleb Williams, obviously got DJ Moore on the outside too. Darnell Mooney just hasn't looked good since a rookie season. I don't know what's going on with him. We'll see whether he can sort of make some improvements and continue his, get back on track in this upcoming season. But if not, you got a guy in Rome Odunze, an absolute burner on the outside. He looked very good during the college football playoffs here. Not missed so much in the title game, obviously, with Michigan having playing a very good defense. But I think through the draft process, he should be able to improve and really showcase his skills and really be a difference maker to be the third receiver off the board here based on our drafts here. So, Tad, let's close it out with the number 10 overall pick here, and that is the New York Jets. How do you close out the top 10 in 2024?
So the Jets are a hard team to mock for because for a good team, they sure do have a lot of holes. But Amir, I have a real quick challenge for you. Other than obviously Garrett Wilson, other than Randall Cobb, other than Alan Lazard, name a single receiver the Jets have. Not tight end. Tight ends don't count.
They signed Braxton Berrios, right?
Braxton Berrios is a Dolphin.
That's what it is. God dang it.
I know. I knew that's where you were going to go.
Yeah, I forgot that he signed with the Dolphins. Outside of that, I'm kind of out. I'm not sure.
That you are, I'm not even going to make fun of you because I could not do a single one. It's Jason Brownlee, Xavier Gibson, Irvin Charles, Malik Taylor, and Lance McCutcheon. McCutcheon? I don't care.
McCutcheon, yeah. Former Ram, actually, Lance McCutcheon. Yep.
Great. Point being is...
Hey, you play Immaculate Grid. That's what to store in the memory bank there.
you know I had no memory bank.
Very true.
Yes,
Very
exactly.
True.
Point being is, other than 2 washed-up Packers receivers and one of the best young receivers in the game, that Jets offense, for how hyped it was, really actually was a lot more thin than we thought it was. So I think that, they could go offensive line again. It still feels a little too early for that. They should just add another receiver for Aaron Rodgers. Please don't sue us, Jimmy Kimmel. For Aaron Rodgers to succeed with. So that was a dangerous joke. So I think I agree with you. He's a very good, and he is, in my opinion, the second best receiver in this year's draft. This is where Rome Odunze goes. I think he will be a New York Jet to be Aaron Rodgers' next weapon. He is a good physical receiver, honestly plays in ways very similar to Garrett Wilson. So I like that pairing. I think that this is that could be an interesting duo moving forward for what will likely be Aaron Rodgers last year in the NFL. Not because of his play, because he's going to say something stupid and get suspended.
Very possible. Very possible. But I like that addition. They definitely could use some more playmakers at the receiver position, but I don't think they need to go with the top 10 pick here. I think they go with another position that they need to address because their offensive line. I mean, like we talked about, Aaron Rodgers played 4 snaps for a total of 75 seconds in the 2023 NFL season. Obviously, Jets fans had very big aspirations for a Super Bowl caliber type of season potentially with this team. They had the defense. They just didn't have the offense with Aaron Rodgers going down. And part of that was because of the offensive line play. Elijah Vera Tucker unfortunately got hurt. He was out for the entire season. Mekhi Becton has been having a very up and down season so far in his career. Looked good in his rookie season, but then following it up, it just hasn't looked as strong either. They've had to do a lot of rotations on that offensive line as well. So I think they upgrade the offensive line here. It's a little bit high for me, but I think here the need is there. So I think they take a slight reach and they take the offensive lineman out of Alabama, J.C. Latham, to shore up the right side of the offensive line. They're able to then shift Elijah Vera Tucker into the inside where he can play a guard position and really bring a lot of stability to the offensive line. Like you were talking about with the New York Giants with Evan Neal, Andrew Thomas, and then drafting Olu Fashanu. I think this is a very similar situation situation in New York where it's like now you have Mekhi Becton who could hopefully, keep things going and get back on track. And you got Elijah Vera Tucker once he's healthy, slide him to the inside now where you could use him at a guard position. And then you got JC Latham, a very strong right tackle that could be on the right side. So I think that's what they do here with a slight reach at the offensive line position here with JC Latham. But Tad, really quickly,
I was between Latham and Odunze, so I just like Odunze better. So frankly,
That's
I just want to talk to them. So no, Latham would be a very, very good pick here.
All right, really quick, Tad, just go through your top 10 to remind everybody of who you picked.
All right, so at number 1, I had the Chicago Bears taking Marvin Harrison Jr. Number 2, the Commanders select Caleb Williams. At number 3, the Patriots have Jayden Daniels. Arizona Cardinals with Joe Alt. Los Angeles Chargers select Brock Bowers. The New York Giants take Olu. I knew if I was trying to read that fast, it was going to be a mess up.
Olu.
Yeah, the Giants take Olu Fashanu, the tackle out of Penn State. The Titans take Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver out of LSU. Falcons take Drake Maye. Chicago Bears, number 9, take Dallas Turner. And to round out the top 10, the New York Jets select Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington.
Not bad. So to close out my top 10, I got the Chicago Bears at the number 1 pick, take Caleb Williams out of USC. Number 2, the Washington Commanders take Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. Number 3, the New England Patriots take Drake Maye, the quarterback out of North Carolina. Number 4, the Arizona Cardinals take Marvin Harrison Jr., the receiver out of Ohio State.
Let's go.
There. Los Angeles Chargers, I got them taking the tight end out of Georgia, Brock Bowers. And number 6, I got the New York Giants also taking Olubiya Fashanu, offensive tackle out of Penn State. Number 7, I also got them taking Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver of LSU, going to the Tennessee Titans. And number 8, got the Atlanta Falcons taking Laiatu Latu, the defensive edge rusher out of UCLA.
Nailed that one.
At number 9, you got Chicago Bears coming back on the clock, taking Rome Odunze, the wide receiver out of Washington. And then close out the top 10, the New York Jets will take J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. So this is still very preliminary, like we talked about at the very top of the episode. This is definitely going to change. There's going to be some trades involved. There's a lot of teams hiring head coaches that will affect a lot of these decisions for sure. But we wanted to give a little bit of an exercise here about a possibility of what the top 10 could look like. But guys, this is just the beginning of our draft coverage. We're getting into draft season here. Like we talked about, we were just on the Salute to Troy podcast with our good friend Al Rowe talking about USC prospects. He definitely invited us again to talk about some more prospects that he wanted us to dive into. So we'll be going on to his show in a couple of weeks. But yeah, that's just, like I said, we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of draft stuff that we need to get into. There's a lot of tape that we need to watch, a lot of homework that we need to do because, yeah, we got the East-West Shrine game happening in a couple of weeks. We got the Senior Bowl happening right after that. And then a couple weeks right after that, we got the HBCU Legacy Bowl. So we're covering all of that. Of course, at the very end of February, beginning of March, we got the Combine. So that's going to be exciting. After that, we got all the pro days for all the various schools. And then, of course, to close out draft season, end of April, we will have the NFL draft. So we got coverage for you up the wazoo. We're covering you on all fronts there when it comes to prospects and sleepers and busts and draft diamonds. And just whatever it is, we got you covered when it comes to the NFL draft for sure this upcoming season. But guys, just because the regular season is over, it doesn't mean the fantasy season is over. So we're still your fantasy guys. So make sure you're hitting us up with all your various questions. If you're in a dynasty league, you probably need some help, or your good friend Jason Davis is in a dynasty league as your fight. So we can definitely help others in dynasty leagues as well. How you need to navigate the roster, how you're going to attack the rookie players coming in for your rookie draft that's going to happen in the summer. Obviously, you got keeper leagues, who you're going to keep heading into next season. There's just a lot of different leagues out there. If you need advice, we're still here as your fantasy guys. So make sure you're hitting us up for that. But guys, the best way you can do that, hit us up on our social media handles. You got us on Twitter. You got me at @TheSide23. You got Tad at TadTheSide94. Got the show handle at The Side Guys. And, of course, on Instagram at The Side Guys as well. Make sure you subscribe or listen to your podcast, whether that's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You can listen around the LAFA Network website as well. A ton of options for you. Hit that subscribe button. Always up to date with our podcast. Watch us on YouTube. We appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you're always up to date with our YouTube videos as well. And please, guys, make sure you're supporting our parent network at LAFA Network. Like we talked about, our good friend Chauncey Talese has a great podcast, LA Podfidential. And we already brought up Alfred Rowe with Salute Detroit podcast, but there's a ton of other podcasts that you can be listening to about all your LA sports needs when it comes to football primarily. Although Bruin Bible has been doing a lot of UCLA basketball as well, because that's going on right now. Our good friends Will Decker and Jamal Bodney who we just learned is Modney now, not Madney.
The Mod Man. The Mod Man.
The Mod. Yeah, exactly. Turning Jamaican a little bit there instead of Indian. So I love it though. So they got a lot of great content coming to you guys. So make sure you subscribe to all their podcasts, going to the website, LAFBnetwork.com. They got a lot of great content for you guys with the Bruins and the Trojans at the college level and the Rams and the Chargers at the professional level. But guys, to everybody who's already supporting us when it comes to listening to the podcast, watching our videos, following us on social medias, interacting with us, I mean, just anything and everything that you're doing, guys, we really can't thank you enough.
Can we get Murr an oxygen tank?
I'm good, actually. I'm actually good.
Take a breath. My God, man. Jesus Christ.
Less for you to do. That's the biggest thing now.
Clearly. Good God. Well, as you can see right below, that is where you can send all your draft questions. And here's the thing that Murr somehow forgot to mention, because good Lord, you fit in the entire dictionary in about 3 minutes there. If we get enough draft questions sent our way, whether it be evergreen, team specific, whatever, we are more than happy to do a Q&A episode when it comes to the draft. That's the fun of the off season, is we are way more open to like doing more kind of out there ideas, whether it be a game show, whether it be Q&A, whether it be, anything involving our fans and listeners. We are open to any ideas and any questions you have. So please hit us up with anything you would like to see us do within reason. Before all my friends jump in on that request, I can already see that being taken advantage of. But, like Amir said, at some point, we have a lot of great draft coverage coming up. So keep tuning in, keep watching. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And please, as always, especially with all this winter stuff going on, stay safe, everyone.